Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to watch the Seaman review. What's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as Seaman. Now I want to welcome you to a very high-octane, Mission Impossible-y Seaman Cinema Sit-Down. Oh man, I'm out of breath. I could not go small on my opening because the movie I'm talking about tonight, which I think I just gave away, does not go small. It doesn't do anything but go big. And Seaman had to go big for this video. Seaman also needs to go big in the gym. I'm all out of breath. It's embarrassing. Anyway, are you having trouble figuring out what I'm putting down? Are you not quite as adept at figuring out crazy mysteries the way Ethan Hunt is? Let the Seaman help you out. Pull up a chair, take a seat. It is time for the Seaman to dive in, non-spoiler, on Mission Impossible Fallout. Wow, man. Wow. I can't say wow enough times about this damn movie. Goodness me. I walked out of the theater last night with my pops, and I was like, I want to turn around and walk right back in. Like, I know we just went through 2.5 plus, 240 plus of this movie, but I'm down. I could watch 5 hours of this movie. It's so freaking good, man. Like, the Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise, they're such a great team up. I mean, I was blown away with Rogue Nation, the first Mission Impossible movie that Christopher McQuarrie dove into, both writing and directing there, as he does here. I was blown away. I was like, wow, these guys, this is a good team up. I like this. I'd like to see it again. We get to see it again, and it's an even better team up this time, man. They just continually, the entire movie, push the envelope, up the ante, up the action, up the suspense, and you're like, oh my gosh, if they keep pushing it, they're eventually going to miss. And they hit the mark the whole movie. It's fascinating, and just flat out amazing at how great this movie is. It blew me away. I've been a very, 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 very firm supporter of Black Panther, and have established pretty much from the day it came out that would probably be movie of the year for me. I didn't think it was possible for any movie to kind of even get into that realm. Look out, Black Panther, you got some company. Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible Fallout are going to give you a run for the money, because this is one of the best movies I've seen all year, and this might be maybe the best easily the best Mission Impossible. It might be the best spy action flick I've ever seen in my life. It's absolutely amazing. But before I just, go drooling all over this flick, you know how the Seaman rolls. I like to start with the bad and end with the good. I had one issue with this movie. As everything was playing out, we're about 3/4 of the way through, and I'm like, oh man, I haven't seen something that I was expecting to see. Now, if you're familiar with Rogue Nation, Christopher McQuarrie's first outing, he introduced a female lead that was so good and held her own on screen with Cruise so well that as a fan, you were like, you know what, I know this is like very James Bondish, and we like move from female lead to female lead every movie, but man, I would love to see Rebecca Ferguson again, because she was awesome in Rogue Nation. She was badass in Rogue Nation. She held her own with Tom Cruise and Ethan Hunt, and sure enough, what does Christopher McQuarrie do? Breaks the streak and brings back Rebecca Ferguson. However, like I said, 3/4 of the way through the movie, I'm like, I haven't seen Rebecca Ferguson do that leg move thing that she did so many times and did so well in Rogue Nation. And then I was like, I haven't really seen Rebecca Ferguson do a whole lot. And right on cue, Rebecca Ferguson shows up and does something awesome. And I'm like, all right, there it is. I got nothing bad to say about this movie now. I will say I would have liked had she not been sidelined as much, just because she's so good. I would have really loved to see her involved more in the action stuff. Besides, what we get is great. And look, you had to make room for Henry Cavill too, because he brings some big action to this movie. We'll get to him, but that's it, man. That was my one real big gripe. I wanted more Rebecca Ferguson. I might be crushing a little bit. I love her. She's so good. But look, let's just dive into the greatness that is Mission Impossible Fallout, right? And it starts at the top, man, with Christopher McQuarrie. Now, yeah, I know, right? This is Tom Cruise's series. Tom Cruise has a lot to do with this, but look, Tom Cruise has been doing this for a long time, and he's been doing it very well for a long time. Christopher McQuarrie has done this for exactly 2 movies, And both of these movies are number 1 and number 2 for me in the Mission Impossible series. So we got to start with Chris McQuarrie, because what he brings, man, it's just so good, right? I mean, look, this is the usual suspects guy, so you know that he can write a movie, and he writes an absolutely brilliant spy flick. Continually keeps you guessing. So many twists and turns that all play and pay off, and he just really dives into a really... And the other thing Christopher McQuarrie is doing that we've never really seen before in the Mission Impossible movies, carrying directly over one storyline to the new storyline. We you know, each of these Mission Impossible movies stands alone, and this one does too. You can watch Fallout and be like, hey man, that is a standalone movie, but it is directly tied to Rogue Nation. You know, we have Sean Harris back as Solomon Lane, which is our main villain from Rogue Nation. So it's a direct tie, and I tell you what, that amplified things. Because I didn't need a ton of backstory on Solomon Lane. It allowed me to explore the new characters that we get. And when Solomon shows up, he's Solomon Lane. And Sean Harris is just so good, and we'll get to him too. It's so good with that character. But what McQuarrie does, man, just from a story side of things, and how much he's able to explore Ethan. You know, Ethan Hunt has a lot of story in this movie, and it really does a good job of diving into kind of his psyche and his motivations and what drives him and what makes him so special. That was the thing I really love. Alec Baldwin has a conversation with Tom Cruise in this movie that's so money. Like, it's just one of those things that, like, you understand why Ethan Hunt is the way he is and why him being that way is super important. And I love that. And McQuarrie does all sorts of wonderful writing things in this movie. I mean, just builds builds great suspense, but he builds this whole movie. Like, this movie is just on a continual up. It never plateaus. It never drops off a cliff. It just continually builds and builds to a peak that it blows you away. I was just so unbelievably impressed with what McQuarrie could do from a story, then throw in all the action stuff. Man, this guy knows how to shoot an action sequence. The action sequences in the movie, also something we'll get to in a minute, are just phenomenal. So all the hats off, man, to Chris McQuarrie, because I did not think that he could deliver a movie that could be this good, story-wise, cinematically, and action-wise, and he nailed all three again, to the point where, you know, I obviously I doubted that he could follow up Rogue Nation and give me a better movie than that, and he blew that movie away. If he comes back for Mission Impossible 7, which I think the movie in and of itself is a guarantee. I mean, Tom Cruise loves these movies. Tom Cruise loves himself in these movies, and Tom Cruise loves to push boundaries with these movies. So I can't imagine a world where he doesn't make a 7th. If McQuarrie comes back, it might actually be Mission Impossible to top this one, because this is wow. Now, obviously, a lot of that wow falls on the shoulders of Tom Cruise, the guy who does all of his own stunts and does everything that you watch in this movie. There was a point in this movie where it's like, man, were they using green screen there? Is it just CGI, or like are they in it like? And no, it's never green screen. It's always Tom Cruise. Look, this guy, I just saw him on Fallon last night. Year and a half of training, you know, to learn how to fly a helicopter specifically for this movie, because he needed to fly a helicopter, and the way in which he has to fly it is by himself. The camera angles and things that they used for that sequence didn't allow anyone else to be in the helicopter. Now, I know you'd probably sit there and be like, come on, you can get somebody in the helicopter with Cruise. When you see these shots, you can't. And that type of commitment from Cruise really is what just elevates these movies, and it is probably one of the things that really amplifies this one above all the other Mission Impossible movies, because the action is mind-boggling, and you literally sit there and have to remind yourself, like, Tom Cruise is actually doing these things. When the first trailer came out, I was like, yeah, I know Tom does all his own stunts, but there's no way he's the guy riding the motorcycle when it hits the car and launches him. Pretty sure it's Tom Cruise. I don't know how you can shoot it without it being Tom Cruise. He's spectacular, man, and he totally delivers on action. I mean, he gives you breath stealing, taking sequences that you're just like, one, beauty. That was the other thing. McQuarrie just found so many cool places to take this movie, and then just found all this great scenery. And just beautiful shots, like just the landscapes and the backgrounds for everything that he's shooting in this movie. Now, he found places I've seen London in like a billion movies, and he found places in London I've never seen that are just breathtaking. But then the action is breathtaking too, man. It steals your breath right out. He pushes, like, Cruise just keeps pushing the envelope and keeps elevating the action to the point where, like, people are legitimately concerned that he might kill himself in one of these movies. But as long as he's not, it pays off to see him being the one doing it. Knowing that he's doing everything you're watching, it adds so much to the movie, and it drives up the edge of your seat suspense, man. There are sequences in this movie you literally are like, oh, no, oh, whoa. Like, you're bugging out. Like, edge of your seat, heart in your throat, kind of suspense action, and Cruise nails all of it. Now on top, like, I could talk about Cruise in this action for hours, but he really brings it, man. This is maybe his best performance as Ethan Hunt since the first Mission Impossible. He knows this character so well, he plays this character so well, and because he has that identity, it's so authentic and genuine when you watch him on screen. And the things he does, like, you can literally see him in this movie being like, I don't know what to do, but I'm going to keep telling everybody I'll figure it out, and I know what to do because I have to. Like, I don't have a choice. And I love that about Ethan. It's that drive of, I cannot fail. If I fail, people die. And it's not just people, like massive amounts of people. It's one person, man. Ethan Hunt will do whatever he has to save one person, and then he'll go back and fix it. And I love that about the character. And this movie really explores that and takes you to places where, like, you almost for a second think, like, dang, man, maybe that mistake is going to push Cruise to go to the place that Ethan Hunt would never go to. And you live with that the whole movie, and it's great. Like I said, I could talk about Tom Cruise so long because he's just amazing in this movie. And this character specifically. This is his best role. Play Ethan Hunt the rest of your career, Tom Cruise. Don't stop making these movies. Even if it might be hard to top this one, keep making them anyway, because they're never bad. And the other thing I thought was really impressive for Cruise is, look, we know Jeremy Renner was supposed to take this role over, which is why he was inserted, 2 movies ago. And Tom Cruise didn't let that happen. Tom Cruise has a massive ego. Well-deserved, too, because that dude, wow, man. But he actually does, and he doesn't really, he's not great at sharing the screen, right? Like, if you're a big actor, if you're someone who can match Tom, you probably won't be in a movie. But he does allow Henry Cavill to be a true, legitimate second lead in this movie. He's not just a supporting actor. Cavill is a lead in this film. And it's easily his best role to date. And I love the fact that Tom Cruise said, hey, I'm going to step back a little bit, and I'm going to let this guy own the screen with me. And, I mean, Cruise does, the way the movie is shot, you find ways to be like, oh yeah, Tom Cruise can only do that. He's always in the spotlight. He's never not in the spotlight. But Henry Cavill, man, he's got some shine in this movie. It's definitely his best role. I still don't think we've hit his ceiling. I think he can continue to grow and do even better than what he does here. But he brings a lot character-wise, and then obviously he brings big-time action. And he's the hammer. Angela Bassett in the previews and in the movie, she says to Alec Baldwin, like, you like to use a scalpel, referring to Ethan Hunt. I like to bring the hammer. And Henry Cavill's the hammer. And I can't say too much more about Henry Cavill. I will definitely dive all in on him on my spoiler review. But he's fantastic, man. And there's room to grow. Like, he can get better. And it's not like it's like, oh, he did anything bad in this movie. It's just, you can see that, like, they didn't utilize him to his full potential. Which is exciting, and I don't know, like, if this movie lands him, like, humongous leading roles, but it should definitely land him, Man of Steel 2. I love Cavill in this movie. I love that him and Cruise share the screen well, and their chemistry is just so good. They play off each other really well in the movie. That's really all I can say about Cavill, but I'm very glad that he got, like, a legit, like, it wasn't just like, oh, we're gonna put you in this movie, and, you got that, loading his gun shot, that is just a tip of the iceberg to what Cavill brings to this. So I was very excited about that. Now, the action is really, though, where this movie shines. The action might steal the thunder from Tom Cruise. which is funny because Tom Cruise is the center of most of the action. And what's cool is that the way it was cut, I mean, look, this is easily some of the best spy action I've ever seen, just some of the best action I've ever seen. And it's certainly one of Tom Cruise's best, runouts of his career in this realm. And what's cool is we get a lot of glimpses into almost all of the action in the trailers, right? It's all sprinkled in there, but none of it ever gives anything away. I mean, you literally gasp multiple times in this movie. And the other thing about this movie, right, it sucks you in so hard. There are so many moments throughout this movie where you can literally hear a pin drop. But then the action sequences pay off so well that it snaps the audience out of it, and we had like 5 or 6 legit clapping ovations to things that happen in the movie, whether it was an amazing action sequence, whether it was Ethan Hunt doing something huge that like helps in progressing him trying to save the day. It actively engaged the audience, and that's amazing. And like I said, because all of the scenes are kind of sprinkled throughout the trailers and we've seen glimpses, I can literally just run through all of them because there are so many. I mean, we get this opening sequence with the plutonium mistake, which is hinted at, where he's like, you chose one instead of many, and it's like, yeah, but if he would have chose the many, his team would have died. And that sequence is, wow. I mean, like I said, you're high octane out and running right away, and it's only the first scene, and you're like, wow, man, that was great. Like a lot of like misdirection and shadows and like spy stuff. And then you get to the Halo scene. That's the second big scene in this movie, is the Halo jump. The thing that everyone, talked about was like Tom Cruise did this Halo jump like a bajillion times. Like they had to build a special helmet. Like you're not supposed to do that many Halo jumps. That scene is just wow. Like you are, it's breathtaking to watch this sequence. It's so gorgeous. And like I said, like you're sitting there and your heart is literally in your throat the entire scene. It's shot and acted and just done so well. And it's all happening. Like you're watching this and you know that this actually, like Tom Cruise actually jumped out of this plane many, many times. And like you get to that scene and you're like, all right, the Halo scene's right at the beginning. How do we get better than this? Like this is one of the best things I've ever seen for Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise. And then it keeps going, man. We get the bathroom sequence that we see in the trailers shortly after that. Oh my God, and Cavill. I mean, I could watch him do that all day, man. It gets me pumped up. But that scene, huge action, great hand-to-hand fighting, great teamwork from Cruise and Cavill. Just destruction, like you're just watching like, wow. And all of it plays like it's not too over the top. I mean, then from there, you see the Sean Harris sequence from the trailer that where that water is coming over him. That whole scene is great, and the storyline to that scene is really, really good. There is a there's a motorcycle chase sequence. Tom Cruise does that in all the Mission Impossible movies, but the one in this one is easily the best I've ever seen, and for me, I think is the best sequence in the entire movie. It's breathtaking and edge of your seat, heart-pounding action. And like I said, I think he might have actually launched himself off that motorcycle, like we see in the trailer. It's wild, but it's beautiful to watch. And the other thing I love too, McQuarrie does this so well. He loves to just drop the score during these chase sequences and just let the natural sound of the motorcycle be all you hear. That pays so well, man. There's one spot there where the motorcycle is running through. One of the motorcycles is running through a spot that's creating this kind of like noise. It's, oh God, it's so good, and it amplifies the edge of your seatness to that scene too. We're not done. There are way more chase scenes coming for Ethan Hunt. Look, we all know Tom Cruise loves to run. He might be the best formed runner in all of Hollywood. He has a running chase scene in this movie. I don't know where you find straightaways on top of buildings that are as long as the straightaway on top of this building in London they found. Wow, man. And that's, like I said, like you're seeing places like London. Like I said, the landscapes and the scenery and the backdrops for everything is just breathtaking. And what's really cool is McQuarrie takes you to a place like London you've seen a million times and finds something in London that you've never seen to watch. And it's, oh God, that scene, unbelievable. There's a scene down in the catacombs that we've seen in the trailer that pays off so well and hits just the money. then there's that helicopter chase I mentioned before that is breathtaking. There are so many intricate maneuvers to that sequence. It's all part of the finale build, and the finale build in this movie is huge, man. There's like 5 action set pieces inside of the finale, but the helicopter chase, it's breathtaking. Like it, and knowing that it's Tom Cruise sitting in that helicopter is just mind-boggling. I want to get into the action like full on, so definitely be sure to check out the spoiler review where I'm probably going to talk about this movie for like 2 hours, and I'll dive into all the action. But it's so good. It's some of the best action I've seen in just any movie, and put it all together in one movie. You'd almost think like you'd be exhausted at like it was too much, and it's not. It just the other thing, the McQuarrie balances this movie so well with the action and the exposition and the story and the back and forth and the way it's laid out. The pacing is so good. Like I said, you get to an end of a movie that's over 2 hours and 40 minutes, and you're like, I'm ready. Let's do it again. Sign me up. Let's go again. So unbelievably impressive. Now, yes, we get unbelievable cinematic action sequences. We get great stuff from Tom Cruise. We get great stuff from Henry Cavill. It's really all you need in this movie. And then there's even more. The supporting cast is phenomenal. Like I said, I'm absolutely in love with Rebecca Ferguson's Isla Faust. Like I said, I was disappointed she was sidelined, but when she does finally get to show up and get to own the screen a little bit, woo, man, she is, God, I'm crushing so hard on Rebecca Ferguson. One, she's got that British accent that I love. But two, she is awesome. She really is good hand-to-hand combat stuff. Her sequences, you know what? She reminds me very much of Black Widow. You could, in an alternate world, have cast Rebecca Ferguson to play Black Widow, and it would have worked. That's how good she is, and I was so glad that they didn't completely sideline her. Chris, if you come back and write another one, and you bring the whole team back, please give Rebecca Ferguson more action with Tom. I want to see her and Tom Cruise do like a Kylo Ren and Rey type sequence where it's just like back to back, the two of them taking on like 20 dudes. Oh, sign me up for that. You want to top this movie? Do that. Sign me up for that, man. Give me a 15-20 minute action sequence of just Rebecca Ferguson and Tom Cruise back to back just kicking the crap out of bad guys. I'd sign up immediately. Absolutely love her. The other big pop in this movie, Simon Pegg. I love him as Benji. I always laugh, and it blows me away that the guy from Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz has turned into this guy. He is such a good actor. That shouldn't surprise you, but this is easily, I think, the most comfortable he's ever been with this role. He really feels like the best version of Benji. He gives you all the Benji stuff you like, and he does exactly what you want from Simon Pegg in this movie. He is absolutely brilliant. I love that he found this franchise, and that Cruise has kept him as part of his team of him and with him and Ving Rhames. Adding Simon Pegg was brilliant, and he does it so well. He plays this role so well, and it's so nice to see him continually grow and get better at it. And this is easily the best outing for him. I absolutely love Simon Pegg in this movie. As I already mentioned, Sean Harris, always brilliant on screen, and he plays Solomon Lane so well. And he's not your... It's weird, right? He's your main bad guy, but because he was arrested and in prison in the first movie, he kind of gets sidelined a little bit, where he's more of a being brought place to place. But once he kind of gets out, and even in those sequences, his delivery is so creepy and so super villainy that it's just wonderful. And it's not over the top super villainy. It's just if a real life super villain existed, Sean Harris's Solomon Lane is that guy. He is that kind of a bad guy, and he crushes as always. And he gets one real big scene too, where you're just like, damn, he's so bad. And in the good way. He's bad as a bad guy. And it's so good. So I'm so glad that, and again, something else that's never been done in a Mission Impossible movie, Christopher McQuarrie brings back the villain from the last movie And I love that the Rogue Nation and this movie together are such a good pairing of movies. Like, if they were the only two Mission Impossible movies to ever be made, just one in a direct sequel, brilliant. And I love that Christopher McQuarrie has gone to places of tying this together more into almost creating more of a direct tie from movie to movie, bringing back the female lead. All of it just works really well. And I was very glad that we got more Sean Harris, because he is devilishly good. Then, of course, another big surprise, a newcomer, comes from Vanessa Kirby, who plays White Widow. I absolutely loved her addition to this cast. I love what her role is. She is so charismatic. She emotes really well. Like, her facial expressions in this movie are just like, oh man. And she has great on-screen chemistry with Cruise. And I love what they do with her character, and that like, you see that knife that was in, like, in the trailer on her leg, underneath her dress. That pays off. Oh man, yeah, it does. It does. And I love the fact that they set this character up as a character that can be brought back also. And if we do get to a Mission Impossible 7, please bring back Vanessa Kirby, because she was awesome, and I love what her character is, and I would love to see that played with more. Like I said, she works so well on screen with Cruise. It's awesome. Great addition from Vanessa Kirby. She was really a standout surprise for me here. Then, of course, you have Ving Rhames. I love him so much. I've always been a Ving Rhames fan, and he plays Luther so well, and he is the undying heart of the Mission Impossible franchise. The only other person that's pretty much been in Luther, maybe. It's been so I've rewatched Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol before this movie. It's been a while since I've seen Mission Impossible 2, and I can't remember if Luther's in it. But I mean, look, Luther's the other piece of this puzzle that's just been there the longest, right? He's been there from day one, and he's the heart of this franchise. Especially as he gets older, he can't really be involved in too much of the action. And he plays his role perfectly, man. He's the guy on the computer. He's the guy, that's doing all the extra stuff that's small and little, and he plays that so well. He has an unbelievably critical role to play at the end of this movie in the climax, in the finale and the climax, and he pulls on the heartstrings, man. He just finds ways to hit you emotionally, and because of things that happen to him in the movie, that allows him to play that emotion up even more. And that was like, you could have said, like, the one thing that was missing from this movie was emotion, and then you get this scene with Luther that you're just like, oh my God, man, like, pull my heart out of my chest, Luther. I love Ving Rhames, and he nails it here. I could watch, like I said, all the characters that these guys play are just such great characters and roles that I love watching them do. I'm always down for it. Also, Alec Baldwin back playing Alan Hunley. Love him. I love him, like, kind of really accepting the IMF position and being like, I'm gonna own that. And then he has a conversation with Tom Cruise that's so poignant and really gets at the heart of why Cruise is so important, and why, because of who he is and what makes him him, is what makes him so great. I love that conversation. I love that Alec Baldwin got to have some fun in this movie. You literally see him smile in this movie, and it's so genuine. You're like, he is so happy to be doing what he just did. It was really good to see Alec Baldwin. And what's cool too, and it's tied into the Baldwin story, is that Jeremy Renner couldn't be in the movie due to Marvel conflicts. They didn't have solidified dates, and it was hard to write him in because of that. So, but what McQuarrie is able to do is the way, with Alec Baldwin's character, because he obviously works side by side with Renner's character. The way that story plays out, it leaves a perfect opening to bring Renner back in. So if there is a 7, I don't think there's any fear that we're going to lose Jeremy Renner. I'm actually, if anything, I'm very positive that as long as scheduling works, he would totally be in a Mission Impossible 7 if he wanted to. So I love that. We also get a newcomer in Angela Bassett, who plays Erica Sloan. She's the head of the CIA. She's the one who brings Henry Cavill in. That's his guy. CIA really doesn't want the IMF to do anything. She wants, she wants to beat them. She wants to be the one that saves the day, and that's why she brings in Cavill. And she plays her role great. She's not in the movie a ton, but every time she shows up, she is just that picture-perfect Angela Bassett delivery for what she has to do. And I like what they bring with her character. Her scenes do pop, and she has a couple that you're just like Yeah, right, go get it, Angela Bassett. You might not be involved in the action, but your exposition and your just on-screen acting, crushing it. So love seeing her, and she adds a nice element to it as well, where I would like to see where she ends up come Mission Impossible 7 also. So I love that you're invested in every character in this movie, and now that Christopher McQuarrie has done this thing where it's like we can keep bringing back all sorts of characters, and we kind of really have a solidified team. I like that even when we get new people. There's a story that makes you go, that's interesting. I'd like to see more of it. I love that. That works so well. And like as we're saying, the story in the movie is so good, and there are so many twists and turns. It goes to so many different places that you'd think you would get muddled, and it's delivered in such an easily digestible way that even though you have these big conspiratorial plots that are complex, it's very easy to follow. You never get lost. And that's a real art to be able to dive into a story that's as complex as this one and deliver action sequences that are as complex as this one has, and have it be so easy to follow. And like I said, it really dives into Ethan Hunt's character more, and it delivers a really good story that grips you from the beginning all the way to the end of this movie. And I love that. It's a massive film. The story is massive. And that is so critical because the massive weight of the story matches the massive execution of all the action. And that just creates an unbelievably massive movie in scope. And this movie is huge. It's so big. Yet it all works wonderfully. And something that amplifies that is the score. Lorne Balfe just delivers one of the best scores I've seen all year. Like, again, one of those things that made Black Panther stand out real big was the score, and the choices they used for the score. That made that movie pop. It elevated it to number one for me. This score does the same thing. It elevates this movie so much that it's really a major factor into why I think this could give Black Panther a run. For best movie of the year. He uses a couple different versions of drums and throughout the movie, and it works so well. It amplifies the action, it amplifies the suspense, it amplifies everything in the movie. Lorne Balfe should be very, very proud of what he delivers in this movie because the score is epic, and it matches. Like I said, each piece of this puzzle, they all had to come and connect for this movie to work in the ways in which it does, and every piece connects perfectly. And that's why we get such an amazing film. And the score is certainly a major factor. So overall, like I said, this is simply the best Mission Impossible movie that we've ever gotten. This might be one of the best movies we've ever gotten from Tom Cruise's catalog of movies. And this might literally be the best action spy movie that I've ever personally seen. I've never seen an action spy movie be able to match the story with the action, with the score, with its character. Every piece just falls in perfectly to give you an unbelievable movie. That's just, it's a great ride, man. It is so much, it is a fun ride, it is a suspenseful ride, it is an action-packed ride, and it's a smart ride. These movies are, that's the other thing, man. These movies are smart. And because of that, and like I said, just everything, I could just ramble on and on and on and on and on and on and on about how good this movie is. And it's impressive to see a movie like this operate on all the levels that it's operating on and hit the mark for each one of them. Absolutely blew me away. I love Mission Impossible Fallout. Go see Mission Impossible Fallout. I can't say it enough. And if you're gonna go see it, like I said, you have to see it in IMAX. Pay the couple extra bucks. It's so worth it. It's very rare that we get to see an IMAX movie that really encapsulates the IMAX cameras the way this one does. This brings me back to The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight was one of the first movies to use exclusively IMAX cameras, and it paid off. Same thing here. So do yourself a favor. Go see this movie, man. Go. Tom Cruise is just... What he can do in a movie takes your breath away. And this movie is no different. It's just amazing. Go see it. That's it, man. That's all I got to say, at least non-spoiler-wise, about Mission Impossible Fallout. I definitely got some more things when we get to the spoiler discussion, so don't you worry. We'll be talking more Mission Impossible. But that's it. That's all I got to say for the non-spoilers. So now it's your turn. Remember, no spoilers down below, but please hit those comments. Let me know what you think. How excited are you for this movie? How much do you love this franchise? What do you think about Tom Cruise always doing all of his own stunts and just pushing the envelope of crazy? Have you seen this movie? If you did, what did you like? Remember, spoil-free. But yeah, hit those. Let me know what you liked about the movie. If you haven't seen it, if I enticed you, do you want to check it out? I hope so. It's so good. You got to go check it out. So that's it, man. Hit those comments. As always, if you're new here, please hit the subscribe and little bell so you get alerts every time I make a new video, especially so that you get an alert when I make my spoiler video for Mission Impossible Fallout. That's it, man. That's all we gotta say. Absolutely love this movie. Go see Mission Impossible Fallout. Do yourself a favor. Have a good time at the movies. That's it, man. So for the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down, I'm the Seaman, and I'm signing off. Peace!